Hi everybody, I'm in my van again. I've been wanting to do this live for like a week. It's just been a week and a half, I guess. But so I wanted to pop on this evening, and I'm sorry it's during dinner and crazy evening time. So obviously Facebook will save this. If you're seeing it and you're like, oh, I want to watch this, it's okay. Facebook will save it. Take care of your family. But I'm waiting for a kid and a teenager to get done doing something. So I thought I'm going to pop on and do this now while I have a chance, because I'm getting lots of questions from mamas who are new to this homeschooling thing and just want to know which curriculum to pick. And we've done lots of conversations over the past month about all the different curriculum programs, all the different options, joining a full program, making your own. There's Zoom calls and posts galore about all those things under hashtag curriculum conversations in our group. But I know sometimes mamas need a simpler answer, and that's okay. We are having a lot of moms consider homeschooling because of the coronavirus, and their schools are considering different options next fall, and they're just not sure, or they've been on the fence about homeschooling for a really long time, and this might be a good opportunity to try it. So I wanted to speak briefly to those moms, and there's probably something in here for the rest of you too, but I have a few things I just wanted to mention. So the question that I'm getting a lot of is, just tell me what curriculum to pick. And these wonderful moms are loving their kids and telling me all their ages and what they like and don't like, and asking, what would be the best fit. So at the end of this live, I'm going to tell you guys how to get some personalized help, because we're working on a few things. But what I want to tell all of you first is that it doesn't matter. I know that curriculum seems like the biggest decision, and it really is, because you're picking whatever you're going to be doing for the whole next year with your kids, which is important. But it is okay just to pick something and go with it, because the curriculum that you use is not as important as you as mom being with your kids, teaching them, guiding them, modeling the life of Christian faith that we want for our kids. So there's plenty of fantastic curricula out there, and picking one is just a tricky thing. It's a hard thing, but whenever you make a decision, whatever decision you make, it can and will work when you just accept it. So remember that it's 1 year, and even then you can tweak and change things mid-year with homeschooling. It's not the end of the world, but just try to take a deep breath, all you mamas asking me, and just pick something. Now, I will say, added to that, is that there are two programs that most mamas who are freaked out about picking curriculum when they first start homeschooling, especially when they pull their kids out of school. There are two programs that seem to be the most common in my observations. That is Seton and Catholic Heritage Curricula. They are similar in that they are both almost a school-at-home model, but they are very different and have unique qualities. So let me just go through those two programs real fast so that you can know. They're both Catholic, which is important to me to share with you guys the Catholic programs. And they are both full programs that will give you everything you need to teach your kid in a year. So I think that those are key for some mamas who just aren't sure where to start and are nervous about that. But they're very different. Yes, Selena says, try, fail, and adjust. That is what homeschooling is. Isn't that what parenting is? I've said that a few times, but it really is. Seton. The mamas that love Seton that I know love structure and order. They love trusting the curriculum. They love trusting the lesson plans. They don't really feel like modifying anything. They don't necessarily have either the confidence or the need to do that. It's not because they don't, some moms, it's not that they don't have confidence, it's that they're like, I don't need to change what's already good and what already works, right? Seton has been around forever, so it works. It's a good education. There's not going to be any gaps. Your kids are going to be on target. Again, it is a school-at-home approach, so there are textbooks for each subject for each grade level. A lot of them are published by Seton. Almost all of them are published by Seton. So that is one program that really helps some moms who, just want to bring them home and get going. I will mention that Seton does not provide lesson plans unless you enroll in the program. So in the younger grades, that might not be a big deal, and you might be able to go to their website and just buy all the books that they would normally use, and then you just go through the books and do the next thing and maybe map out your own plans. As you get further up in the grades, I do hear that those plans are helpful. So to enroll a student might be a good option. And then of course they have other options when you're enrolled. You have some grading that you're sending in reports and grade their tests for them to do the grading on for you. And because it's accredited, they would keep that information for you and kind of give you that, crossing your T's and dotting your I's. I know someone asked earlier today about accredited or not accredited, and is it important or is it not important? It depends. The only time I have seen someone say that accredited is super important is if their state requires it, or if they are trying to go into a post-high school situation that requires it as well. It's easier to get NCAA sports scholarships. It's easier to get into the military academies. It's easier to do some of those things if you have an accredited program. But if your kid's in kindergarten, it's just dependent upon where you are this year. You could try an accredited program this year or not, and then the next year change it, and that's okay. So keep that in mind about that. So the mom who likes Seton is able to teach her kids to be relatively independent, to have them sit and do their work at an age-appropriate time, of course, and does require kind of that sit down and get it done model. So I also mentioned Catholic Heritage Curricula. Catholic Heritage Curricula is also a full program, but there is no enrollment option. So you do not have the option to enroll with them or get a consultant of any kind. They do have some online help that's fantastic, and of course there's groups and moms everywhere that will help. But that's the main difference if you're on the fence and nervous. But CHC is still pretty much a school-at-home model. There is a text for almost every subject area, and they are all Catholic, woven throughout, which is a beautiful thing to give your kids, even if it's just for 1 year. Just give them that gift. But it is a gentler plan in the early years and is much more flexible and hands-on than Seton is. So CHC is going to include some extra cutting and pasting and making little projects and things that Seton might not have as much of. Also in early elementary, Catholic Heritage Curricula does a 4-day elementary school lesson plan. And you can get their lesson plans without enrolling because there's no enrollment. So you just purchase the lesson plans. And so you can have that gentler approach and flexibility where you can do 4 days and then have your 5th day floating or doing errands or appointments or things like that in the early grades. CHC does only go up through 8th grade as a structured set curriculum, and then for high school they have other recommendations. So that is one thing to consider if you're wanting, all the way. But I know lots of moms who love CHC and use it all the way through for their kids, and kids have gotten into college and done great things. The CHC mom is a very active mom, a mom who likes to just get their hands in on all those different things. CHC has lots of options for you, and so you can choose to do supplements or you can choose to just stick to the core things, and so that helps a lot of mamas who need a little bit more flexibility or want to be able to rearrange things or cross things out or change things. Not that you can't change things in Seton and modify and so forth. When you're enrolled, it's a little bit more challenging because you have to get the approval of your consultant, but when you're not, you can make adjustments, of course, because that's all up to you what you are teaching. But so those are the two that a mama who is just, I don't know where to start, should probably look at, especially if you're thinking of only homeschooling for 1 year. I do think that your kids would probably do well in a school-at-home approach. But if you really think this might be something for the long haul, or you're just not sure how the year will go, or you're not really good about following the plans and sticking to the check boxes and you'd like to do your own thing, maybe you have a background in education or you just love learning in books and you want to share that with your kids, then there's lots of other curriculum. I have posted that chart that highlights the Catholic programs that I am aware exist. About half of those I have personal experience with, either using or having a good friend using. And so I will be later kind of sharing a little bit more about those programs and my perspective on, which mom they might work well with. But those other options on that list, most of them, with just a couple of exceptions, are not school at home. And so they're going to require kind of a different thinking of education than maybe you were experienced before. If your kids have been in school or just your own, had a public school education and it was, school at home. And so looking at a different philosophy of education was something I had to kind of change my mind on and really challenge myself to do. And so if that's where you're leaning, then look at those other options and do that. But they're all good, and they will all educate your kids, and they're all, accessible and something that any mom can pick up and move forward with. So like I said, we're going to do some Q&A sessions in the coming days, and I'm going to post those hopefully tonight, dates and times for some Zoom calls that will be specifically Q&A. It will be whatever it is that's on your mind and your heart that you want to ask. You can come on that call and ask your questions, and myself and whoever else feels like they want to share can come on and try to answer those or give different perspectives. I've had 13 years experience, and I love talking to other moms about their homeschooling experiences. So even if I didn't experience your situation, I might have experienced it through someone else and kind of know different options or know what different people have tried. And so I would do my best to do that. And then after that, we will move into the curriculum planning and lesson planning stuff that I promised for those of us that pick our own curriculum and don't just follow the set lesson plans and map that out. So if you're doing a program that doesn't have lesson plans, or if you're making up your own thing, we are going to talk more about that in detail, but I'm just going to put a little pause and have us do some Q&A. During those calls, I will prioritize the questions that have to do with something we already talked about. But if we've got time and we want to talk about putting together your own curriculum and lesson planning, and we get to those things, that's great. But I'm not going to say we can't talk about it, but I want to prioritize anybody who has questions from what we've already been talking about and is still kind of just stuck. Also, because we've had so many new members and they're catching up or trying to catch up, and it's a little easier to digest information kind of face to face, even though it's not, it's virtual, than just scrolling and reading all the history. So that's what we're doing. You mamas that are starting out and brand new and not sure what to do, just take heart that it is going to be blessed. Whatever you do will be blessed by the Lord when you offer it to Him and you surrender it to Him. There is a lot of prayer required in homeschooling to be successful, and a lot of trusting the Lord and trusting the materials that you choose when you make that decision. So I encourage you, if you are still just no idea where to start, look at Seton and CHC first. See if either of those pull you in and just grab you. And if not, then you can, of course, explore all the other options that there are out there, and maybe think outside the box and not in a typical school setting. But everybody else that is coming up with their own thing or using one of those other curricula and has questions, we are going to get to those really, really soon and do some of those Q&A sessions together and just visit and find out what it is that you need. So thanks to everybody who watched live. I saw Selena and Iris and Sarah and, I know there was somebody else on here, and Leanne and Nikki. And I'm really glad that you guys got to see this, and I hope that somebody who's watching later, that this is a help for you as well. So have a great evening. I'll see you guys again real soon, and I'll post those dates hopefully tonight.